Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting tonight on February 6, 2018. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, here we go. I'd like to welcome everybody, and we need a roll call, please.
Proano.
Present.
Tallarico.
Present.
Das Magwal.
Present.
Satori.
Here.
Di Giovanni.
Present. I'd like to remind everyone, if they want to speak, fill a speaker card out, please at the foyer to bring it up to the staff member and they'll pass it to us. And a friendly reminder that you have 2 minutes when we do the hearing. Thank you very much. So I'd like approval of the minutes of the special meeting Wednesday, November 8th, 2017. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. If there's not any changes to that, so moved. And may I have all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So now I'd like to open the public hearing. And we're going to talk about item 1, which is our only item tonight. It's General Plan Amendment GPA-4-17. 12720, Plan Development PD-4-17-12721, Major Subdivisions, Sub-4-17-12723. It's a use permit, UPR-4-17-12722. It's a design review and mitigated negative declaration, CEQA-4-17-12725. The application is by City Ventures to construct the 75 three-story townhouses off of our Juniper Serra site.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. That's quite a bit of entitlement there. This is a request by City Ventures to construct 75 townhouses and a retail office mixed-use building at the northeast corner of Juniper Serra and D Street, 3301 Juniper Serra Boulevard. The site, again, is, just to orient everybody, is situated here, again, at the northeast corner. This is D Street, Juniper Serra. The site's actually a 3.64 acre site that's a two-part site. There is a SFPUC owned property that bisects the site. So this portion of the site would have the 66 townhouses and retail office space. And this portion of the site at the southwest intersection of B and Hill would have the remaining 9 townhouses. So here's a photograph of the subject site. Currently, the site is occupied by City Toyota, which is obtained a use permit to use the site for vehicle storage and is presently doing so. That is more pictures of the subject site, but really the one on the top is probably the best descriptive. Just to provide the Planning Commission and public some context, this is the Samtrans Park and Ride lot located south, on the south side of D Street, across from the project site. It's presently a publicly owned site owned by Samtrans, where people can park and park their car and ride BART. This is the SFPUC right-of-way. This is actually from Google Street View. This doesn't really look like this right now. It's in some, SFPUC's been doing some work here. That's essentially the right-of-way, or I'm sorry, it's actually owned by the SFPUC in this area. This is the Colma BART station. And this is the City Toyota automobile dealership across B Street, north of the project site. So the proposal is again, the construction of 75 townhouses. They would be 3 stories. At the immediate intersection of Juniper Serra and D Street, the applicant would construct a 3-story retail office building consisting of 31,035 square feet. It's contemplated that presently the first floor would be retail uses and that the upper 2 floors would be office, but it could be 2 floors of retail and 1 floor of office or something like that. In addition, along D Street are proposed 8 units, 8 townhouse units, which at the bottom floor, not connected to the townhouses themselves, are 8 shopkeeper commercial spaces, and those would total 3,672 square feet. So again, those, that retail would not be connected in any way to the townhouse use physically. They could be leased to individuals who wanted to, have an incubator, small business type of establishment. So parking, and we have a table in a subsequent slide for the entire site, is that each townhouse would provide 2 parking spaces, tuck-under parking within the garage of each unit. And in addition to that, there would be 110 spaces for the retail office. And we say guest parking because the applicant has agreed to, and the conditions of approval we're recommending for adoption require that the applicant develop a parking management plan wherein the parking could be shared. The common parking, not the parking in the garage, but the 110 parking spaces could be shared during hours where the office uses or the retail uses are non-functioning. So office use goes dark at 5 or 6 p.m. People come home, they could occupy some of those spaces as guest parking or extra parking. So that's the concept there.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. On the retail parking, you're saying the 110 units to be shared for that, but as a person that wants to shop at the retail, do they go in there and park too?
Sure. Oh, yeah. The
Okay.
110 parking spaces are for the
Shopping.
retail or office
Okay.
use. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. The residential has 2 per for itself.
Thank you.
So private open space within the decks and patios of the units in combination, there are 8,230 square feet. And then common usable open space, there are 10,207 square feet. We'll go over more specifically what those common usable open space areas look like. So in total, that equates to 245 square feet per unit, exceeding the city's normal requirement of 150 square feet per unit. So the project actually exceeds what we normally require for multifamily housing. So this is just an overview slide of where we are. The preliminary plan and sketch plan were combined, and the Planning Commission reviewed this project. It's very similar. It's almost exactly alike the project before the Planning Commission for consideration tonight. And the Planning Commission did so back in June, as did the City Council, reviewed the preliminary plan and granted approval of that preliminary plan, and the applicant has then refined the plans and worked with staff further on the specifics that would be necessary to make this development happen. There's been quite a bit of work that's gone into the technical aspects of the city's review of this project. The applicant has applied for a vesting tentative map, and the city staff was very careful to make sure that the project plans that were introduced before the Planning Commission and City Council were ones that were approvable. So tonight we're at the precise plan stage, final approvals, the recommendation by the or by the Planning Commission to adopt the mitigated neg deck would also occur tonight, as with the other entitlements. The recommendations again to City Council. So the proposal requires general plan amendments and BART specific plan amendments. And essentially the entire site is designated by the city's general plan as commercial mixed use. We did think it was appropriate, feel it was appropriate that the residential portions of the site be redesignated to residential medium density. The project proposes 22 units to the acre, so that sort of a density falls within the medium density category. The retail and office building would need to be redesignated commercial retail and office, and then the shopkeeper space could actually be retained as commercial mixed use. The BART station specific plan would also need some redesignations to medium density residential for the residential, neighborhood commercial for residential above for the shopkeeper space, and then office convenience retail. So there's just some clarification. And there's a couple of maps that we have that show those exact designations. In the staff report, we do detail why the city staff is in support of the proposed amendments to this plan. We've actually put the BART station's specific plan, the illustrative plan that's contained within the specific plan document, on the screen for the Planning Commission to take a look at. And it's hard to see the street names here, so I'll just tell you what they're. This is D Street, and this is Hill Street. Under the specific plan, B Street was to be completely vacated, and was to become part of an expansion of the supermarket that existed on the site where City Toyota is today. In 2004, I believe it was, the city approved the construction of the City Toyota automobile dealership, and this plan was really not viable after that point. In addition to the fact that it would have required the abandonment of B Street, and probably even most importantly, would have required that the SFPUC property have been utilized for parking. The SFPUC has indicated to the staff that it's not really that interested in having their land they own to be used for for private parking lot. And so this plan has sort of been, over the years, become infeasible, if you will. And so what we're left with today is these two triangular properties that are here. And over the years, as indicated in the staff report, we've had a number of people approach us about what's feasible at this location in terms of constructing any kind of retail on the site, and there actually hasn't been any proposal for retail. There have been ideas about constructing residential, and they've been limited in scope just because of, again, the nature of the triangular shape of the properties, given what's gone on around it historically. And so in terms of, the city staff taking a look at whether to support the project that's before the Planning Commission tonight, we have lent our supportive recommendation for approval based on, again, these reasons, which again are detailed in the staff report. So the amendments that I was just speaking of are illustrated here. We won't go through these. These are attachments to the staff report. These are how the general plan would look, how the specific plan would look post approval if the project was to receive its entitlements. This graphic shows site area allocations. We won't spend a whole lot of time on it. It just shows how much acres are devoted, how many acres are devoted to each land use. Wanted to again touch on the parking, which is sometimes important to the planning commissioners. Again, each of the townhouses would provide 2 parking spaces per unit, for a total of 150 parking spaces, and then the non-residential is parked at 1 space per 225 square feet, which is actually more strict than the zoning ordinance requirement, which is 1 parking space per 300. The office commercial is also parked at 1 space per 225 square feet, and these requirements come from the BART station specific plan designations. The specific plan designation does allow where there is truly mixed use, vertical mixed use, and in the case of buildings that are front on D Street, that the shopkeeper space provide no parking, it just utilizes on-street parking. Of note here is that the on-street parking for this would be on Hill Street and in B Street. There is parking in that area. There is no on-street parking on D Street and about half of Hill Street. So that is where general parking exists.
To the chair, I hope this is not too specific right now, because I'd like to get to things because I lose my track. Anyway, as we know, where BART is concerned and there's private parking opening, there has to be police, because people tend to park their car in that 110 spaces for the stores and go to BART. And that, I know, was happened at the cinema.
Sure.
So is there a plan to make the housing unit or whoever, because that will happen?
Sure. And it's probably not unlike any of the other private businesses in the area. Just take, for example, the Planet Fitness facility across the street. I mean, that's probably another place people who are using BART would like to park. And the way that's enforced is through essentially strict tow away. I mean, if
well, I'm just saying 110 spaces that close to BART.
Yeah.
I will give you, I'd like to set up a little hot dog stand there just for the BART people. because it's going to happen, and I don't like to see it going, oh, look what happened. I want to be proactive on this stuff.
Sure. And the tenants that are in the retail and office space are going to make sure that there's strict enforcement of that.
Right.
A lot of the leases that are set up for this type of space, have zero tolerance for trespassing for parking.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, Commissioner?
I think I'm done,
No problem.
So this is the project site plan. Again, as we discussed in the preliminary plan hearing, the project is essentially accessed through a right-in, right-out driveway at D Street. This is D Street, Junipero Serra, B Street, and Hill Street. So there's a right-in, right-out driveway here, and then an exit driveway at B Street, serving the 66 townhomes and the 31,000 square feet of retail. The 9 townhouses that are fronting B Street would be served by an access driveway onto B Street. So there's no direct access on a Junipero Serra Boulevard and Hill Street. The internal driveway pattern is such that the 101 parking spaces are largely in this location. There are a few tucked over here by the residential, but they're mostly in this area paralleling Junipero Serra. So these are the townhouses here. And of course the 9 over here. And they're connected by paseos, pedestrian sidewalks essentially, and internal circulation.
Through the chair, could you put your arrow on and show me how the flow is going to come out of the units there and go on to Junipero Serra?
Yes. Well, I'm trying to think if we have, we're going to get to that in a subsequent slide, and we can always come back to this one if you'd like to.
Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. This isn't a really great this is not a great graphic for showing you the site plan. It's a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy.
Yeah. And here's there's an emergency vehicle access. The fire department's required of the project, and it's located here in between this building group. And private driveways serve the tuck under parking, stemming off the driveway here that serves this parking field. So one of the discussion topics that we've had, and we've had it with the town of Colma, we've had it internally, is why this building couldn't be adjusted more towards the intersection and the project driveway be brought back. There are actually easements that are underneath this, serving Cal Water and PG&E, and so the relocation of those larger facilities really makes it so that the driveway more or less needs to exist in the location where it's proposed. And the city was amenable to allowing that, provided a traffic study showed that it wasn't going to be a problem. And in fact, a traffic study has identified that it's not a problem. And so we haven't said no to this proposed site plan for that reason. Oh, here's a blow up of it. Sorry.
Better.
A little, yeah. we have a landscape plan that's we can use as a site plan. That's really good. So we've got some conditions of approval. We won't go through each one of these, but essentially the city's staff's recommending the Planning Commission impose some conditions of approval on the site plan. Specifically, the emergency vehicle access we'd like to be able to be improved for pedestrian use. It provides an additional, not included in the common usable open space and an area for people to walk in. So we think that that would be good, and that would be blocked off to be safe for pedestrians to the extent that that would be all right with the fire department. We've got some condition about the wall between the SFPC property and the subject site. We'd like that to be, have an enhanced design and look nice. Minor things about the project and courtyard entrances receiving some design interest.
And, pardon me, but about the illumination plan.
So the illumination plan is essentially a submittal to the city that shows where all the lights, so any kind of luminaires that would be installed within the project, or the pedestrian lighting would probably be a better. Luminaires are more in the street. Pedestrian lighting system, we like it for safety. To make sure that the city does like to see a diagram of foot candle and make sure that the project is safe to its residents and people who are visiting. that's what the illumination plan
Are
is.
they going to have some closed-circuit TV in the underground parking and that?
Well,
I mean, the parking for the residential and that?
yeah, there's no proposal to us for closed circuit
Okay.
type of, that's not to say it's not possible, but yeah. So getting to the project architecture, this is the design concept. I think this is actually communicating the design concept of the shopkeeper units. But it's the perspective drawing we have to show the architectural style that we see in this project, a combination of stucco material, decorative overhangs over the second floor, horizontal siding. There's a whole color palette that's been developed. It was included in the Planning Commission packet that would show the color scheme for the project. So overall, again, a contemporary architectural design, staff supportive of that type of a concept. And the preliminary plan showed this, and there wasn't any sort of do something different. So this is what was proposed, and we're fine with it. These are elevations of the individual buildings that are included in the project plans. This is actually what's called the street scene. So if you were looking dead on at the project, looking north, if you were standing at the Samtrans parking at the Samtrans parking lot, what you'd see. This is the retail office building, and then the shopkeeper units would be here. So it's just the intent here is to show the design and what the scale of the project might be. This is the retail and office, just a blow up of what that would look like. Again, we've added some conditions of approval on some of these buildings. We'll go over those. Shopkeeper space, shopkeeper concept. These are some of the residential buildings, buildings E and F, their south elevations. Some more residential elevations. There's 5 color schemes proposed throughout the project, including the retail and office building. Those are outlined in the Planning Commission attachments. We do have some conditions of approval recommended for the architectural elements of the proposal. We've conditioned aluminum window system or something that's of a similar quality. We're trying to move away from the vinyl product in townhouse and condo buildings whenever possible, and so that's what that condition's about. The retail building, we wanted to see some wall wash lighting to make it more attractive in that way. We wanted the residential buildings to incorporate some of the awning systems that were present on the shopkeeper and retail buildings. We thought that was an important addition to enhance the quality of the architectural elements of the residential buildings. And then we also felt that some of the end treatments of the residential buildings facing Junipero Serra really weren't developed enough, and so we added a requirement. We're recommending a requirement that those be enhanced at the prior to building permit submittal. And then we really would like to see some enhanced garage door designs. The alleyways, if you will, of the project. They are places where people do walk through, and they should have a higher quality than just a blank panel. And so we did condition that. So at the preliminary plan stage, getting into some of the topics that were discussed by the Planning Commission and the City Council at that time, there were 5 essential topics that were important. The first of which was the provision of sidewalk and landscape along the Junipero Serra project frontage, as indicated in the project plans. The project now incorporates that. The provision of usable open space with the townhouse portion of the project. Mitigation of potential vehicular conflicts between BART motorists and motorists leaving the site. We actually have subsequent slides that explain the solutions to these. Better means of ingress to the site from D Street and the provision of space for community events. So the first was the project frontage, sidewalk and landscape, including Junipero Serra. So this is actually the frontage improvement at Junipero Serra. The applicant's landscape architect has developed a meandering path system that avoid, this right-of-way area has some utilities, and there's a pole that crosses over Interstate 280. And so this meandering path sort of jogs around some of those things and is actually consistent with some of the preliminary drawings we'd seen as part of the Samtrans lot redevelopment, which we haven't received any application for that, but there was a preliminary plan developed and then had a meandering sidewalk. So we thought, why not carry that concept into this area? It seemed like a good idea then. So anyway, this area would receive landscaping, tree installation, and the public would enjoy, again, an expanded sidewalk to connect to the sidewalk that runs north-south on the east side of Junipero Serra, connecting to the sidewalks in San Pedro. And throughout the project frontage, there's actually existing sidewalk, but there'd be landscape treatment provided in D Street. There's a water line there, so we can't do trees like we'd like to, but some shallow plantings in that area will enhance that corridor. So the usable open space portion of the project is illustrated on the overhead. We actually have, we're going to zoom in to the common usable open space areas. So these are areas that are like a barbecue pit, benches, this sort of things that residents can gather in and socialize in. This is the EVA, the emergency vehicle access that I mentioned earlier, and this is the fire department's required, essentially, area that they can drive through, but nobody else can, with their emergency apparatus. And we'd like to have that sealed to the extent that it's safe for the fire department. There would be some sort of a Knox box where they could access it if in an emergency they needed to. But when there's not any emergencies happening, the residents would be able to use that. The applicants proposed some sort of turf block in this area. And so there's no reason why it couldn't be used for, even kids, kicking a ball. We've required that the applicant disclose to the residents who live in these buildings, actually all the residents in the development would need to be provided notice that this can be used for a recreational purpose, so there's no confusion about it later. So getting into the potential for vehicular conflict, and this is what I wanted to, we actually have a photograph that illustrates, I think the question that you're asking, and this is what's brought up in the town of Colma's letter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the city staff's, been discussing this and for some time too, and what to do about it. The traffic study actually found that the proposal.
Excuse me, is
yes.
this our traffic study or Colma's?
No, Colma did not do a traffic.
Okay.
The city's traffic.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
The one in the initial study, yeah. So essentially the concern, and it is a valid one, is that at peak periods when vehicles are leaving the Colma BART station heading on to southbound Interstate 280, that vehicles will stack up in these travel lanes. There are 4 lanes here. They're kind of hard to see in this, but there's one that goes right onto northbound Junipero Serra.
Right.
There are 2 through lanes that get onto the freeway, and there's one that goes left to go on southbound Junipero Serra. So the concern was that motorists exiting the site, and it's one thing I'd like to point out to the planning commissioners and public is that this is not the exact location of where vehicles would be exiting the site. There still is a dimension that's needed for the parking, so this wouldn't be the exact location in terms of its distance from Junipero Serra. But the concern has been that vehicles will stack in this area and people will try to enter into the left turn lane to go south on Junipero Serra, thus blocking traffic here. Yep. And we received that again in Colma's letter, and we took a look at what to do. And as outlined in the in our response to Colma's comment, we've actually conditioned that the applicant at project construction install lane delineators in between lanes 3 and 4. Moving from right to left, it's lane 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in between lanes 3 and 4, there would be those plastic.
Okay.
The yellow things?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Yes, good.
Okay,
Something to
that's good.
stop.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if it became, as a matter of fact, we have a graphic of it.
There we go.
There's the yellow codes. So at initial construction, these delineators would be installed. So people would be pretty dissuaded from crossing all the way over here. Now, every once in a while there's going to be Yahoo who tries it.
Through the chair, so So you're saying that if someone would like to head south, they're not going to be able to
That's from this driveway.
from that driveway?
That's right.
So what is their, so who does that affect? And so that, if I was living there and I'm coming out that way, I have to make U-turns?
You
Go
would
round and
essentially
round
need
and
to
round?
find another way, that's true, yes.
And you mean if I come out of my house? And I.
Well, what you
yeah.
would do is you would exit another driveway. You wouldn't exit, because if you lived here,
Yeah.
you would know to go onto B Street.
Well, I'm gonna be new living here, so,
Well, you might do it the first time.
A couple circles, it'll be over.
I mean.
Really, the impact, and
Okay,
we've thought about
It's an impact
this.
zone, I mean, your answer was, you're gonna find another way, but I'm saying is,
Yeah.
her,
To her question, yeah.
Teresa's question was valid. I'm coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and I decide I wanna go down to, south.
Target.
Target. Yeah, I'm gonna go south of Juniper Serra. No, you're not. You're gonna go this way, or you have to go out Hill Street and come back around.
You'll need to exit onto B Street, make a right onto B Street, make a right onto Hill Street, make a right onto D
Oh,
Street.
that's fun. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that's,
So may I have another question then? May I,
Sure,
through the chair?
absolutely.
So what if the exit wasn't so close to Juniper Serra and it was brought farther east? And so that would not be an issue. I mean, cars do come in and out, and yes, so close to Juniper Serra, that's an issue. But if you then decided not to have the road there, you bring it back so that there is a choice to go left, right, whatever. You don't have to put those unattractive little delineators.
you
Yeah.
gotta go back like another block. or
Yeah.
something.
Or, have the exit be this way, so then you decide where you're going, just like you would in any other, coming out from another street.
Well, again, part of a couple of things to think about there is that the exit would not be at the exact location that the current
Exactly.
exit is at. It's
Right.
actually pulled back a bit, the distance of a parking space essentially. So the existing exit isn't where the new exit would be. It's a little different.
But that's
It's
still
moved
not
a little
lot.
bit to the east.
Still would like to be need to be friendly to the residents, though,
Well,
right?
through the chair, are there gonna be lights, or are we gonna have it, my turn, your turn? I mean, in other words, you're coming out of, let's say, that's not the exact exit from the project. It's down a little further. They're gonna come out. Now, there's gonna be traffic coming up that doesn't belong to the project. Are there gonna be lights to let them out, or is it gonna be?
No.
No.
Project traffic will be contained within the site until there is adequate room for the vehicles exiting the site to enter the public street. So there's no signal or anything like that lets
So the
people out
person
of the
coming
project.
out has to look and say, okay, and I can move out.
That's right.
Well, through the chair, wouldn't it be easier to not just, I mean, because you're creating a whole residence. I mean, there's a lot of people are going to live there. And wouldn't it make a little sense, I don't know, I'm not a designer and I don't have degrees, but wouldn't it make sense to just re-look at that whole space, including the street, and with the understanding that you're going to have the traffic from BART, and that maybe just redesign it a bit so that it's more conducive to the drivers, like stoplights or stops or something, and just, instead of,
It's
not friendly for the
probably worth
residents.
noting, I mean, there was a traffic study prepared for this project that found that as designed, without the delineators, there would not be any issue in particular. There were, at the PM peak, there was identified that into that far left movement onto southbound Juniper Serra, I believe hold on, if you'll bear with me a second. I made a note of and it's actually addressed in the response to the comments in the
Right.
Colma letter.
What
Which-
page, Michael?
It's on, well, the pages aren't numbered, but it's on it's not on the memo page, but on the first page of the actual responses in the,
Oh, Commissioner? Yeah.
in the highlighted section.
So,
So-
pardon me, through the
Okay.
chair. So if it's really, if you feel, and, I mean, we could probably do more tests or whatever, but if you're saying in this response that there's really not an issue, but that we're going to respond to their concern, then why make it more of an issue and make it more difficult for the residents? Because going in circles, it's kind of like being on Juniper Serra coming out of Walgreens, and I'm trying to
Right.
head east, and
Yeah.
it's a pain.
Well, I think part of the thing
Yeah,
is
it's
that,
not
and the
friendly
planning
at all.
commissioners will attest to this themselves. Sometimes we're told to be proactive, and
Right.
we're trying to.
We want to be.
We're trying
We
to be
want to,
proactive.
definitely want to be.
I mean, it's something that, we could look at in terms of waiting till it's a problem, I suppose, because
It's a problem.
getting into the second phase,
I don't like that.
we are not requiring the lane delineators at this point in between lanes 1 and 2, but these could be installed at a future time should it become a problem that people are swinging into the freeway-bound lanes, then the lane delineators would be installed in between lanes 1 and 2. So that's another concept that we've explored. We've built in a condition of approval that addresses that. So
Through the chair, I know we've been through this before on other sites when I was passed and now. We bring this up in condition of approval, we will do in 6 months, and then the contractor will correct it. Excuse me, I'm going to be blunt about it. The contractor, you talk to him, say, oh, you promised to correct this. Oh, I got no money. I'm concerned because I see this happen. We were living with some bad intersections because every contractor will tell you, yes, let's study 6 months, and then we'll restripe and we'll put the delineators.
well, this condition of approval is specific that the cash payment is up front to the city in a deposit to pay for this
Okay,
work.
Okay.
So that's how that would work. Now, again, there's a traffic study that says that without the delineators, there shouldn't be a problem.
Does the
We
traffic
could,
study live here? Did they?
They consider the residents?
Daly City.
yeah, I don't know,
Yeah,
I don't have the people that prepare the
I don't mean to
traffic
be
study.
rude,
No,
it
no,
just,
no,
I mean, through
no.
the chair, to me,
problem.
right now, if I was living right there, yeah, I don't think personally, I just think that it's too much.
So the planning commission can, if it feels that this is appropriate, recommend that this condition of approval only be implemented when there's a problem that's identified. Now, of course, the problem may not occur right when the project initially constructed. It may wait 15 years to develop. So, that's the sort of thing that, we have to, and that's the reason for the initial deposits that the condition is requiring. That if this is ever a problem, and there's another area where we're proposing lane delineators as well, and we'll get to that in a subsequent slide, the city will have the funds to implement the lane delineation. So the planning commission can advance the project with a recommendation that, hey, why not just wait till this is a problem, and then we'll deal with it then.
Because as we know, the traffic's going to get heavier, not, it's already increased, right? So we want to be proactive.
Yeah.
It is, well, it depends on, of course, the BART station usage. It depends whether the site on the south side of D Street develops. So there's some, it depends in there about whether, how much or whether traffic is going to increase. And so anyway, so this is the two concepts were to install the ones between lanes 3 and 4 now, wait till it's a problem for the delineators between lanes 1 and 2. We could do, unless I hear any objection from the city's traffic engineer, we could do both when it becomes a problem, this sort of thing. So anyway, this is something to think about before you.
And through the chair, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse at this point. I'm just saying is that could this section, the road and all that, just be revisited or just rehashed with the streets division it just doesn't, I just got off the freeway today coming down off the freeway and just even turning off on Juniper Serra, the big truck next to me should have gone straight and decided it wanted to go where it wanted to go. So I understand the concern. But then again, once you create this into a residential living, breathing, 75 units and, potentially many cars, toppled with BART people come in and out. I just think that maybe just revisiting just how cars would come in and out, and not just what it is right now, but with the anticipation of residents. You know, if I wanted to run to Target, you know, it would be a real pain. Or if I wanted to go get a latte and I decided I want to go that way, go south.
With the current lane delineator proposal.
Exactly. I just think that that's,
Well,
you know,
it's-
that's just, hi, let me fix a little Band-Aid and pop up those little yellow things. And
The concept of if what you're getting at, though, is the concept of moving the building, it's not possible to move this building or
no,
release
not
easements.
moving
the
a
building.
building is how you come out, so that you have more of space in the road to make a decision. So if I come out and I want to go left, right, straight, I have that time to get myself into the position I want to be. That's all I'm asking.
Commissioner, would you like to speak to the city engineer and then Michael and they can
Yeah, I
address
mean, we
it?
could do that.
Is that appropriate for you, Michael? Can we call up the city engineer to address the question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry. Hi.
Would you please come up so we can address this question all together? Thank you. Thank you for being here, first of all. Okay, now we have Michael, and we have everyone here and our city engineer. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, she just heard my question.
Yeah.
Well, just to clarify,
thoughts?
I'm the traffic engineer, not the city engineer.
Oh, traffic engineer.
engineer.
Traffic is, that's a great title.
I don't want to.
Deepest apologies. Yeah, we don't want to mess up the two. Thank you for being here, traffic engineer.
Okay. You didn't do the traffic study.
I didn't prepare the traffic study.
Is the company here that did the traffic study?
Oh, please. Okay, well, first, would you want to hold that until Michael's finished his presentation?
What's the best way to
I
address
think,
this?
why don't we just finish the presentation?
Yeah.
And
if
then
you
she
don't
can
mind.
speak.
Yeah, thank you,
can
traffic
speak,
And then we'll
we
get
can all
into the.
speak.
The traffic is going to be
specifics.
redone.
Hold on,
We're gonna
we'll
come
get to
back.
you guys.
Yeah, don't go home yet. Yeah, don't.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that okay with you, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay,
you.
great. So let Michael finish his presentation, and then we'll be happy to call up the.
Go back to-
Yes, because there's more traffic.
Oh, can't wait.
Okay, hold on, we'll have more.
So,
Thank you, Michael.
issues, I mean.
Continue.
So the second issue that was raised in the preliminary plan was the ingress to the site in D Street. So how vehicles would be able to enter the site, given the median island that exists in the middle of D Street
Right,
presently.
Right now.
And so the applicant has proposed modifying this median island in the project plans and making a left-hand turn pocket into the, so that people can make U-turns in D Street and then make a right into the project. So the city staff, these arrows kind of show the approximate locations of where that might, that left-hand turn lane would be situated. This is a overview of that proposal, and here's a more detailed or zoomed-in perspective. So this is D Street, and this is Sarah Bowl over here. So the left-hand turn pocket, it's hard to see the red dashed
Okay.
lines, is basically in this shape. The applicants proposed shaving that down, and the traffic studies evaluated whether this would be any sort of significant traffic impact, and has found that it would not be one. So this is actually feasible in terms of not impacting area traffic. And so cars, instead of having to go all the way over to Hill where U-turns aren't allowed, would be able to make a U-turn at this location in D Street. And why this is important in getting into a little bit of the location of the retail and the size of it, it's very important for the city to have a tenantable retail building at this location. The whole site was, initially planned in the BART specific plan to be retail or office. So we wanted to have as many square feet from the city's perspective, if you will, of this sort of non-residential use that could provide employment opportunities, shopping opportunities. And so that's what drove the shape of the retail building in terms of its program and its size. It's as important, not only just to build the building, but to make sure that it's attractive to people who want to lease the space. And part of that is providing access. This is at a great location right off the freeway exit. But if you think about how do you just say that, I don't know what store might occupy the lower floor of the retail space. You can think of, some.
How large? Are you talking a Walgreens?
No, it's a 10,000 square foot space. No,
Yeah.
Walgreens would be.
No restaurants.
It would be a Walgreens would be larger than that.
Okay.
But something smaller, fill in the blank. So there's no real good way to get into the site. It currently exists. Right now, you can't make a U-turn at Hill Street.
Correct.
So you have to make a turn onto Hill, make a turn onto B, come through the project. Now, somebody who's not familiar, with the project site, they got a coupon for, going to this retailer. They don't know how to, get to it. It's important to have a way to get people into the project driveway easily.
I apologize to interrupt and through the
No,
chair.
no problems.
So I'm trying to understand this, and so I'm hearing, we don't want to change the building, so we're going to cut in, which makes sense. But what doesn't make sense, again, is that if we're worried about traffic and I'm a driver and I'm decided I'm going to use my coupon and there's all these cars coming from BART and I'm going to make a U-turn and try to get myself into that space, it doesn't make sense. And I understand where you're saying, and what I'm hearing is we want as much retail space as possible. Hence, we don't want to change the size of that building and we don't want to move it. And so instead, we're going to kind of mosey around and have people make U-turns, and there's traffic coming, and there's people. It makes no sense. It makes more sense that you want people to come to the location. So if you want people to come in and make it easy to come in and easy to come out, then it makes more sense to work out where those buildings are and kind of adjust things so that it becomes a convenient location.
And friendly.
Friendly, easy,
Yes.
less issues, even if you stop signs or whatever it is, because if you think it's not going to cause a problem to make a little U-turn and get yourself in there when other cars are going to be having a problem, it's going to be a big problem.
So the traffic study completed for the project, and the Hexagon is the traffic engineer that prepared that study, and they're here tonight, and they can more fully address that concern than we can,
Okay. I
and
understand.
better explain it. So why don't
Okay.
we punt on that?
Okay?
Hold on, Commissioner, and
There
then
was a
we'll.
traffic study that found it wouldn't be a problem.
Sounds
We'll
like
let them
traffic is the
explain.
big issue tonight.
Yeah.
So.
But definitely needs to be friendly, you're right.
So that's the D Street ingress
Yes.
topic that was
Yes.
discussed at the
Yes,
preliminary plan
correct.
stage. The fiscal impact. There was some concern, and this was raised early by staff, that the site should have a more intensive type development, or
Yes.
something that's along the lines of, the whole thing should be retail, or the whole thing should be office. And so the city staff required that the applicant provide an fiscal analysis, an economic analysis that showed why it couldn't be that. And again, these findings were actually delivered to the Planning Commission in the preliminary plan process. But essentially, the study found that a higher density development project would not be feasible due to the market conditions. The local housing market just wouldn't support a more intensive condominium type development. And construction costs would also impede that, the ability for that happening. The study also found that there would be, it's probably obvious, and that's fiscal surplus generated from the proposed project then would be under their specific plan designation, because again, for the reasons that I explained previously, there's really not any ability, given the SFPUC property being out of the equation, from having, an expansion of the retail site to the north, which has again been developed with something else. So that was the second finding. Getting into the affordable, so those are the 5 topics that were at the preliminary plan discussion. As you can see, there's a couple of meaty ones there. Affordable housing plan, the applicant has received approval from the city manager's office for an affordable housing plan. It's essentially an alternative hybrid plan where 8 units of affordable housing would be constructed, affordable to households earning 120% of the area median income. And they would pay a $1 million housing impact fee, $1,057,000 impact fee to the city to be used for constructing affordable housing. So those are the 2 items with the affordable housing plan. The proposed project was subject to an initial study. The initial study went through and evaluated all the potential impacts associated with the project, including traffic. Concluded that a mitigated negative declaration was appropriate for the project. I think there were impacts related to noise and biological, and those all are identified. There are mitigation measures to those identified in the mitigation monitoring report. With regard to traffic, the traffic study that was included in the initial study identified or evaluated traffic at 12 area intersections, identified the number of project trips. We won't get too far into the weeds on that. That would be generated by the project. Essentially, the run through the traffic model found that all of those intersections would operate at level of service D or better. And again, the fourth bullet is that the traffic study did study the topics that we're talking about with regard to whether traffic crossing into D Street would cause a problem from exiting the project, as well as the modification to the median in the middle of D Street, and found that they would not be impactful in a CEQA sense anyway. The Planning Commission, in the preliminary plan, and then in a reissuance, more recently received a letter from the town of Colma. Some of these topics we've already discussed relating to the traffic, so we're not going to rehash them. In addition to the traffic issues the town raised, the impact of public services and parks was raised. There's really not any sort of, other than anecdotally, evidence that Colma's parks would be impacted any more than Colma residents impact Daly City parks. So that's not really something that we found to be a significant CEQA issue. Their issue with population and housing was addressed with the affordable housing plan requirement of paying a fee and providing units. So if there's any specific questions about that letter, the city has issued a response to the letter in some detail. The Planning Commission received that communication, yes, today.
I know.
And we've also provided it to the public.
No, I understand, but through the chair, it was a little bit, I got it at 4 o'clock because I was busy, and it's a lot to read. It's really, and I would like to know, did Colma respond to your response and say yay team, or what? Are they happy with this? Because there's input we're looking for, right?
Colma's response informally is that they're taking a look at it.
Okay.
So the Planning Commission's not approving the negative declaration. In fact, we're in a comment period right now for the negative declaration. So the City Council is the ultimate approver of that document. So the planning staff is recommending that the Commission take the following action: adopt the findings in the staff report and recommend that the mitigated negative declaration be forwarded to the City Council for review, along with its mitigation monitoring and reporting program, as well as recommend the City Council approve the project entitlements that the chair outlined at the beginning of the meeting. So at this point, if you'd like, you can, the applicant actually has a few slides. They wanted to introduce themselves.
Sure. Actually, I'd like to call the applicant first, if that's okay with Hexagon, and then, because then there might be more questions, so they can introduce their slides.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you for being here, Samantha. Oh,
Thank you
go
for
ahead,
having
Commissioner.
I was reading the letter of city planner from Colma and Susan Nelson, and I find it unsavory because this to me is an encroachment to our policy here at the city. Why are they trying to even criticize even the recreation parks regarding our system here? We lack facilities here. Just maybe between the lines and absolutely. So for me, this is not proper. If they really want to coordinate or cooperate with us, stay with it. But don't criticize whatever we're doing here in the city. I detest this letter, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I want that put in record. This letter is, I would say, pregnant with innuendos. Thank you.
Okay, present your slides.
Thank you very much for having me. We're really
Welcome.
pleased to be back before you after our preliminary hearing last June. And we're also excited at the prospect of becoming part of the fabric of Daly City. I won't go too much into detail on the project because staff did an excellent job at kind of going over everything. And I do want to also thank staff for their time over the past 2 years working on a program on a fairly difficult site, being two non-contiguous triangles bisected by the SFPC. But I do want to tell you a little bit about City Ventures. We're an urban infill builder. We really try to focus on finding sites close to public transit. Obviously, this is one we're 150 yards from the Colma BART station, which is really exciting. And we're also a sustainable builder. So we do things like provide solar or electric. We actually provide the solar panels. We don't just pre-wire. We have, in the context of California's kind of drought situation, we provide low-flow fixtures, low-impact landscaping. We design creatively so that we can use less lumber. We do all of our garages pre-wired for electric charging. We have Energy Star appliances, high insulation that really works well, where the outputs and the inputs of the solar match nicely. And I could go on, but all of it equates to a very sustainable home. And on a project like this, it would save approximately 600 tons of greenhouse gases per annum. So pretty exciting. The project that's before you tonight is obviously a modern style of architecture, and I wanted to show you a couple of projects that we've either built or are underway. You may have noticed the project across from the South San Francisco BART station, which is 80% occupied. That's our project. And then the project on the top right in San Jose is just started construction on our retail building. That is a mixed-use project with retail, office, a park, and 180 homes. And in that regard, City Ventures is a mixed-use developer. A lot of developers focus either on residential or on commercial, but we think, especially in the context of being around public transportation, that it's really important to provide a variety of uses that can really support each other. The nice thing about being a developer that does this is that we've learned how to be the builder that does this as well. So we figured out how to finance it, we figured out how to construct it. We have three really cool uses on this site. We have the standalone retail and office building, which will cater to kind of the bigger tenants that the city has kind of focused on and told us to look into, whether that be a food use or a big retailer. We have for sale housing, which we think is really unique, close to public transportation. And then we have these very interesting shopkeeper units, which we've done. You can see a smattering of them up on the screen. They're really successful. They're completely separate from the residential, as staff indicated in their presentation, but they are flexible in the way they're designed. So you could buy as few as 500 square feet of space or as many as 2,000. They're combinable and demisable. And what we find is that really caters to a different type of business owner, whether it's the first-time business owner or a small business owner. That's who we usually see on these projects. With that being said, we're really excited to answer your questions. Our team is here. I'm also happy to answer any of the questions on traffic, although we have a lot of people who I think could do that. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity and for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. At this time, I'd like to ask the commissioners.
One second, I was going to ask her a
Yeah,
question, if you don't mind.
Sure. That's what I was going to do, ask the
Yeah,
commissioners
through
if they
the
have any
chair.
questions.
Yeah, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I am familiar with your building in South San Francisco, and I've noticed that rust has, appeared, and Daly City being a little more closer to the ocean might have issues with that as well. And the other thing I noticed was, getting picky here, the hallways. I thought that was a huge waste of space, that the hallways, when you got into the building, that the hallways were humongous. I mean, and I will say that in South City, particularly the closets then were small. So if it was me, I'm just throwing it out there, is that I would have liked to have seen smaller hallways, bigger closets. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but
I love a big closet.
yeah.
What woman doesn't like a big closet, right?
I'm just saying, it was a normal closet, it wasn't a walk-in, and I said, what a
all
big waste of space. It's the biggest hallway I've ever seen.
And this is the project across from BART on Mission.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
So a couple of different items. One is we can work very closely with staff on making sure that we provide,
Storage.
yeah, storage always. We've done a lot of these types of homes, and we really cater to a first-time home buyer or young families. And this is kind of the feedback that we've gotten from our residents is this is what we like. But we do provide options for larger closets, and actually a lot of the residents and homeowners select what they want. So it's designed flexibly. Like a lot of the homes on this project, The standard is 3 bedrooms, but they can be 4 and they can be 2. It's
saw
really
that.
what you want as a
Yes.
homeowner.
Sure.
So that's
Sure.
part of it. As far as the rest, everything that we do is warranted, so we can definitely look into that and make sure things are coded well. The other thing is, because these are for sale, there is a property owners association
Yeah.
that has to have enough budget to address that. So anything that comes up, even after we're gone and they're functioning by themselves, all of that needs to be taken care of on a regular basis. And part of our conditions, our covenants, conditions, and restrictions will state that any sort of wear on the buildings needs to be taken care of in a timely manner, and staff has also conditioned that those CCNRs be approvable by them and the city attorney.
Through the chair.
Sure.
Sure.
How much percentage are you going to do solar? Are you planning? I mean, 100%? Okay.
Yes, on the residences.
Yes, no, let's understand,
The
yeah,
commercial
okay.
uses, depending on what they are, if it's a
Wow.
food use, sometimes they require gas.
But no, 100% is great. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner?
I just have a quick question. Why is it, I know there's a fee that you can pay for to kind of avoid providing the 20% of affordable housing, but why 8 instead of like the 20% would probably be
Sure.
roughly around 15 homes?
Sure.
Because we already know it's the elephant in the, it's not even an elephant. We all identify that housing is a crisis here in the Bay Area, but yet you're only providing 8 out of the 75. It does not make any sense. And one of the things that makes Daly City is the diversity of Daly City, the people. So if we can't even afford to buy, why is it only 8?
Bringing in other people, right?
Sure. So we worked really closely with staff on what the city is kind of looking for, and we understand that there are different programs that are going on in the city. Providing 8 on site that are kind of equally dispersed, that's what we came to in our discussions with staff and the city manager. The fee is flexible, and so the benefit to the city there, and I'll let staff speak for themselves, but what I heard was that you guys have programs. I know you have a Habitat for Humanity project that's affordable, that needs subsidies. I know that there was talk at the council study session about joining, San Mateo Heart. There are all of these different programs and existing projects that could benefit from the city having flexibility. So we're really, we're hearing what you guys want, and we're trying to provide that.
Through the chair, I was just going to say and I did see the impact fee of being $1 million and such, but in Daly City right now, a home is $1 million. So one home. And so I see where my fellow commissioner, what he's saying is, I mean, we're glad it's 8 because some projects pay a big fat fee and do nothing. But it would be nice to see
More.
We would be remiss if we didn't make this statement to you that it would be nice to have a few more affordable. And so I agree with you.
Yeah, and so you're hearing from us because, I understand that wherever the other people might live, and then they care about our city as well, but we actually live in the city, and we know basically, we live it every day, in our lives. And like she said, $1 million, and then 8 homes is not enough. We are in a housing crisis, as you know, regionally, but definitely in Daly City, and we have to look out for Daly City.
Of course.
So, and families cannot afford $1 million home. So, and the HEART program provides the first down payment, but that's on a down payment on $1 million home. How are they going to afford that? So that's another issue. So, please, that's very important.
And through the chair, I will, on a positive note, I'm so impressed to see,
Yes.
what you've done, for the future, for the vehicles, for the 100% solar, for everything
That's
that
great.
you've done. It's amazing. It's the future, and it's something that is very positive.
Well,
So,
I really appreciate it.
yeah.
Thank you for taking care of the environment part. That's like a big key issue. So when they say they're going to have the homeowners association, which is great. So in particular, on some of when I saw the barbecue area and things like that, being a firefighter's daughter, I'm always concerned about fires. Just little things, but it's like the propane, never the charcoal, non-rubberized for health reasons on the turf, because you seem to be very environmentally friendly anyway, which is fantastic. I applaud that. So when you look into those issues, I'm sure you'll get the best products and keep that in mind for the children that are out there playing in their future. Because there's been those studies through Senator Hill and who's trying to address those issues. And then I'll also ask the commissioners if they have other questions.
I have one.
Commissioner Satori? Oh, Tallarico?
All right, there you go.
Satori?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Art.
Go ahead.
I'm just, I'd like to question only Mike regarding the PUC, regarding the underground water. Do they pay for the city about the right-of-way? Do they have to pay the fee, or? I'm just curious.
They own this property. They own it outright.
Yeah, I understand that, but it is under the Daly city because, you know, just like a toll fees in any city. That's why I'm asking. Because the city is looking for money, so probably that could be a source of income for the city in the future. Because we pay also in San Francisco, like the toll fee, we pay also something that they impose on us. You know, I'm just saying this because I know the city can generate income through this.
So our attorney that's here, could you
I'm
probably
just
address
throwing
that?
this.
Yeah.
Concern for us.
Clarify.
The SFPUC owns the property. They do not have to pay us anything
Yeah, that's
for
why,
use of our right of way.
The city can impose.
No.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, the city cannot, no.
I don't know. That's a legal question because this is, the property is under the Heche plan, right? That's why I'm thinking about that if the city can, in the future, can also impose fees of the right of way because this is under the Daly city. I don't know. Just thinking aloud. Let the city council handle it. That's not our problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Satori.
Through the
Yeah,
chair.
Commissioner Tallarico?
The great, on that PUC property, you said you're going to have, they're going to have a wall on each side of their thing. Now, as we know, graffiti does happen. As we know, somebody's going to take care of it. Now, when a graffiti happens to that wall, where the garbage is piled up against the wall, who takes care of it? You know, people come by and they're going to throw things either over the wall or on the other side where the people live.
Well, the
Or-
PUC maintains that property and has
I
a
know,
gate to keep people out of it.
I know, I
It's
know.
a secure
Gates on the
site.
side?
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Okay.
this is their side. They electrocute you if you go here. But
Oh, you
no,
mean
no,
on the
no.
project side? Oh, well, that would be covered through the HOA would pay
Okay.
for graffiti
I'm
removal.
very covered,
On
very
their
clean,
side, yeah.
very graffiti-free.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't need another.
Just a follow-up to that
Sure,
question, Mr. Honorable Chairman. You know, this is like a reverse dam because there is a underground water, right? The moment it explodes, assuming, God forbid it's, what happened? What happened to that? In case something goes wrong, in case the investment of the city ventures get lost, well, what happened?
May I take that one, Michael? So our HOA is required to be insured, and the SFPUC is obviously required to be insured. So if that happened, there would be an insurance issue that would resolve that. And again, paying for that and having that organized is part of our CCNRs, and it's part of the operating budget of the HOA that the Bureau of Real Estate requires of us.
Because you can never know what's going to happen, assuming you hit the water below.
Oh, if we hit it
Or
with the bill-
anybody else.
Oh, got it,
It can
okay.
happen. That's why I'm just thinking about it, just in case, because there's some sort of, a lot of things can happen.
The
There could be
SFPUC
an
is going
earthquake, it can also, something like that.
Yeah.
It can move.
That would be taken care of. And since you're eco-friendly, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Do you have a plan to promote the BART, like for people to take transit, like maybe to encourage them, or because you are eco-friendly developer and stuff, to within that HOA to say, hey, I mean, you can't make them take the BART, but something to because it's right there. But sometimes people don't use the things that are right there. I've noticed that. When you live in an area, then you're thinking, why don't they go to the BART to do that? But
So part of that is, these are for sale, so as a developer,
Sure.
At some point, we're gone. But the HOA can be set up where we recommend that they, provide transit passes or something along those lines.
Sure.
But what we've tried to do as designers and as developers is we've really encouraged pedestrianism. So what staff has helped us do is not only provide all of these new sidewalks that they presented, where it's a protected sidewalk now, we've provided this landscape strip for safety, but we've really tried to create a strong street wall along D Street with a lot of accents to really activate the street, and then providing ground floor commercial all along D Street until you get to that standalone retail building and connect to the new JS sidewalk.
Right.
So we're really hoping that that will encourage people to not only walk through our site, but walk and patronize the commercial that we're providing.
Through the chair, real
Sure.
quick, 2 questions. What are you planning on HOA fees roughly?
So that's something that once we get approval, we have to have a budget preparer
Sure.
actually go through and look at all of the finishes, taking into consideration a lot of the conditions of approval. They have to allocate stuff for the window types that staff is required, these enhanced garage doors. We typically see something between $200 and $350. The other item that staff has done is they've created a condition of approval that requires that our operating budget get approved by staff. So there will be scrutiny and oversight to make sure that it's enough and make sure it's not too much.
Nice. And when we talk about sidewalks and such, I don't know if I missed it, I'm sorry, but sidewalks to BART so that it's lit, so it's convenient, so people feel like I want to walk to BART, right? Is that obviously was included?
Yeah, that's part of so along the sidewalk system on D Street, there's actually a separated sidewalk and Universera that would be installed. So there would be there's a water line that runs underneath the base of the curb at approximately that location under D Street. So it's not possible to plant trees, but we were able to get some shrubs in that
Nice.
area. So there's a separated sidewalk there, and then in Universera. And then along the lines of the illumination plan, we would have lighting that's provided in that area too, so that, yes, it makes it so that people want to walk to BART.
Exactly, that's all I was at. I was sure that was
Yeah.
something.
Through the chair?
Sure.
please. As a possible recommendation, if I was coming to spend $1 million, could you offer the idea of a CCTV from the homeowners association office or something?
Oh, I'm so glad that you brought that back up because
Yeah.
I wanted to address your question.
please.
So the parking for the residential is actually dedicated garage parking. So as the homeowner, I'm the only person that has access to my garage.
Okay.
It's not accessible by, other people trying to park at BART. It's not accessible to commercial drivers. It is totally 100%
Right.
locked and secured. So CCTV probably wouldn't apply.
Well, I'm looking at I'm looking at the project. I'm looking at the corners. I'm looking at the sense that it's dark there and a thing like that. And I'm not just specifically your building, maybe the city has to kick in. But some closed circuit television around there for muggings, it's not,
Close to BART?
well, it's close to BART. BART has problems, transient situation. I mean, it's something maybe the city and the builders together could start putting some of these closed circuit TVs in areas to prevent situations. I'm just throwing it out.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is nice about building residential is that it's very self-policing. You now have 75 families who are reporting things continuously. So if anything, safety goes up. I do understand that it's dark now, but city staff has indicated that they're going to require pedestrian lights, like decorative and illuminating, and that will be part of the illumination plan we provide, so it will not be dark anymore, I guarantee you.
Could the city planning department consider talking about closed circuit TV, not only in this new project, but in our areas, a certain city? I mean, I know I'm getting a look from Tatum, like, anyway, because, no, I'm saying this.
Cameras?
Yes,
This-
closed circuit TVs.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the infrastructure that would be required to implement something like that would need to be done on a citywide or at least a
Okay.
neighborhood-wide basis.
All right.
It kind of goes
Let's put
beyond
it
the
on the
scope
board
of one
with the rest of
individual
the
project.
expense.
Make your wish list. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Through the chair, regarding the garages, okay, so it's good. I did a tour of the housing that was built up on Third Avenue, which is right up my block, and also spoken to my new neighbors that come down into my area to park because they can't fit their cars in the garage and there's not much room. So have you seen those? Have you taken a tour? They're very narrow.
Yes.
left, right, and some of them are situated where I'm still not sure between the two garages how you would get in that last garage. That being said, people then, my new neighbors are saying, can't park in my garage. Sorry, I know I have one, but I can't park there. So then where we are thinking they have enough parking, they're in our neighborhood and taking up our parking. So my question to you is, size-wise of the garages, are they going to be very narrow? Are they going to?
So these have been designed in a way that it should fit comfortably, and not only your cars, but there is dedicated trash area that can't conflict. I mean, we've really done a lot to maximize the space of the garages, so that should not be an issue.
And
here.
storage.
And I've definitely seen that before. Yes, one of the things that we often do in the garages actually is we'll provide storage above the cars, and we'll also provide a bicycle parking, so bicycle storage within the garage dedicated for each home.
Okay.
And that's in addition to the on-site bicycle storage. That
And
we-
are we thinking it's more of a one-car garage in so if this home, for instance, I live in a home that has a two-car garage. So are we looking at that type of a garage? Are we looking 1.5?
These are all two-car garages.
So they're all, tandem?
Some of them are tandem, which we find is an appropriate measure to take so close to the BART station. But the nice thing, as staff mentioned, is as a TDM, we've done this shared parking space where we're going to have an agreement between the commercial and the residential. And so that provides 110 guest parking spaces that will be able to help ameliorate any sort of problem. What's typical if this was an all-residential project without the TDM would only be 19 spaces. That, in addition to over 30 on-street parking spaces, we should have more than sufficient parking so close to transit.
Excuse me, through the chair. That's 2 in the garage. Is it going to be on the pad too also? Just going to go in the garage too. There's no,
There's no driveway.
no, okay, so, and there's no on-street parking.
No, and all of the garages meet the city's minimum dimension
Okay.
for garages, which is 10-foot interior clear and 17 feet
And
interior clear for two-car.
they're going to be told through the homeowner association, it's not a storage garage. This is a vehicle
Oh,
garage.
yes.
Yes.
We've had,
Or it's not another bedroom or your rec room,
Yes.
just.
Okay, I just have a couple comments, and first, thank you for all these questions. Be standing there, Ms. Hauser, is that you have it's a great opportunity for that corner, because we have like the numerous churches that make it really busy, Holy Angels, Harvest Baptist Church, all that corridor that can draw over to hopefully the retail area. And then I know it's early in the game, but is there any mindset on what you're going to have, like restaurants and some activity, right? We want it very vibrant, and that's a great opportunity to draw those people over there. And we also have a seniors over there off of East Hillside,
Yeah.
right? That's a whole 100% seniors, and they walk a lot. I just want to let you know, in that senior building, and they walk down that area to San Pedro. So if it's really safe when they come down there, maybe they could come down there and have, lunch or what have you. And there's one by the Holy Angels, another seniors. So I see great potential for that particular area. And my quick question is, did you reach out to our, we have a representative here tonight at our city Toyota, because they're great partners in our city, and were you able to have a conversation with them and see that everything's okay, that they're okay with everything?
So to answer
And I'll
your-
bring him up as well after
Sure.
you, though, but.
Sure.
go ahead.
So to answer your first question, as far as the tenantability of the standalone retail building, that's been designed very flexibly so that we can get 4 corner tenants.
Oh,
The
okay.
nice thing about having, on the ground floor, the nice thing about having corner tenants is you attract a lot of
Right.
food and coffee shops.
Yeah.
And so what we've heard from the city is we want to focus on food, and that's who we've been talking to. We've hired a retail consultant to start having those conversations already. And as far as City Toyota, we've spoken very briefly today, actually, and we're going to get together to talk a little bit about, sounds like some questions about loading.
And you're not going anywhere anyway, so I'll bring also we have a lot of people to bring up here tonight, so in order, perhaps before the traffic, because maybe the Toyota might have a question either. If it's okay with the commissioners, may I bring up Mr. Mueller and Ms. Hauser, if you don't mind sticking around? From our city Toyota, welcome.
Hi.
How are you? Good evening.
Good, thank you. So I'm Dave Moeller. I'm the owner of City Toyota. And so obviously, we're the adjacent neighbor. So I gave Samantha my card. I just have a few concerns. I think some of them can be addressed. Didn't really know the forum and didn't know a contact, so I thought I'd show up tonight and give her my card.
Concerns.
But my biggest concern is, we've been there, we moved in '07, and it's been a commercial area. We've had one neighbor, it was Mr. Conti. I used to chat with him in his downstairs office regularly. I mean, we've never had a complaint from a neighbor. And so, the scale of our business, we repair over 5,500 cars a month. We sell close to 6,000 cars a year. We have a car wash that backs up to B Street that does about 40,000 car washes a year. It has blowers. We have, which is mandated from Toyota, we get a parts delivery every night in a big rig, generally between 3 and 4 in the morning. We get our cars dropped off in the middle of the night. So there's noise. And so what I'm most concerned about is now I'm going to have 75 neighbors next to me that might be trying to sleep at 3 in the morning, and has that been addressed? I don't have a problem with the project, but I think I need some protection or something from the owners, recognizing that they know they're going next to an existing business. Now, the BART tracks make noise, you know, the freeways there's some noise in the area, but we also own the Honda store in Milpitas, and it was in Los Gatos, and we were surrounded by neighbors, and it could be really difficult at times. Car alarms go off sometimes. Gentleman here, Charles, mentioned CCTVs. We have almost 40 of them on our property. We have 24-hour monitoring. Our property isn't fenced, and we are constantly chasing off people who break the lockbox and then they come back later and steal the car. So it's live monitoring. They come over a PA system, or people that are just looking after hours, or people that are intoxicated, and we call the police. Daly City PD is fantastic to us. Kudos to them. But there's things. I mean, I have some ideas. Our parts delivery, if we had a loading zone on Hill Street, then it wouldn't, right now they either go on B and exit on San Pedro, or they come in San Pedro and go out on B, depends on the driver. I mean, that's quite, I have a dock, I have security, I have a gate that opens. I mean, I could make that work, but it's a lot of work for me. The car wash, you know, the parts are delivered at 4. Our parts people show up at 4:30 in the morning, and we're servicing cars starting at 6.
You have blowers going at the car wash at 4?
No, not at 4 in the morning, but you know, on a 4th of July weekend, we might be washing a car at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So it's just the nature of the business, and unfortunately, kudos to Daly City. I think we're the 3rd largest dealership in volume in Northern California.
Through the chair, we've had problems in other parts of the city in Cow Palace where cars were coming, gypsy drivers, not gypsy, they would unload cars at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
And they would block even the one where there was a fire station. And it was noise. The guy came in 2 o'clock, bang, bang, because these guys got to get in and get out. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. What are we going to do? Well, if I got $1 million home and you're banging around at 3 in the morning, I'm going to call somebody. And I think you're trying to look at what.
That's what my concern is, and so I mean I don't have a problem with their going in there, but I don't want someone going there having a problem with me.
Exactly.
And so you know, it's a you know,
I agree with you.
and nobody's reached out to me, so I figured I'd show up and at least give my card.
We want to be good neighbors.
And through the chair, I would, and I'm going to guess,
Yeah,
right?
she's got ideas.
That just like they've done with the houses that the airplanes come over and they put double pane windows, and I'm guessing you're going to be addressing this positive, because he doesn't want any problems and we don't want him to have any problems.
We don't want him to go anywhere.
but that's fine.
We want
me,
everyone
but
to be
I think
happy.
there should be some way
Absolutely.
to address it with the owners in I don't know,
Ahead
it's
of
a
time.
title thing, it's out of my
Through,
league.
through the chair, we
Sure.
could require some sort of disclosure statement for the properties and within the CCNRs,
But we need,
informing home
Owners,
buyers
yeah.
that this use
And a
preceded
sit-down.
them
A sit-down.
and that it's an allowed use. But based on the noise impact study, do we have mitigations?
Well,
we need mitigation.
well, the noise study determined that there would not be.
Yeah,
that
no, read that.
that there wouldn't be, any need for any sort of a mitigation because the noise levels would be within the limits established by the city's general plan.
Michael, through the chair, I would guess they weren't there at 3:30 in the morning?
And they didn't contact us in
The
Toyota.
sound measurements are generally taken over 24-hour periods, but the noise is measured not in individual incidents.
Sure.
It's noise measured
Over a period.
and averaged over a period of
Totally.
time.
But someone looks excited. Are you excited?
Got my tongue.
She-
Okay, Ms.
I'm
Hau-
like chomping at the bit to answer.
Yeah,
That's
Ms.
what I'm hearing.
Hauser, could you, yeah.
Yes.
One second,
Mr.
don't go
Mueller,
far.
you're welcome to stay with her.
Because I have more, not much.
There you go,
Very
no
valid,
worries.
no, it's
Sure.
a very valid concern. So, to speak to that point, we did do a noise study. They leave sound meters out there for days, so it does take into consideration 4 a.m. noise. And one of the items in the write-up of the noise study was that your car wash is operating. There are some weird hours. So, one of the items that we have to do is provide higher STC windows to achieve a certain decibel level inside each home. And that's something that's baked into our CEQA and will be required, and we're happy to do it. Our CCNRs and our HOA documents do provide a disclosure. It's in a list with a bunch of other disclosures. And to staff's point, what we can do and what we do in sensitive cases is we can provide an extra disclosure and we can provide a copy of it to Mr. Moeller so that everybody is understanding this is the use. I mean, I've heard from the start that this is a very important use to Daly City. And we don't want to
No, we love our
we don't want to
Toyota.
interfere,
too.
yeah, we don't want to interfere with that. And so we want our homeowners to be respectful, and we can definitely add an extra disclosure.
And through the chair, do you believe with the extra windows and all this, that the sound would be minimum?
Yes, yes, it has to achieve that, I believe it's 45 decibels on interior space. And what we'll do is acoustic test, it's like a very standard thing that we do. We'll do acoustic testing once it's built, and if for some reason it doesn't meet that requirement, we'll upgrade or change the windows however.
Okay.
What about when people are outside for the decimals, for the, for the hearing, for the children and things like that, for activities?
So it's not, the
Not
noise
likely,
is
yeah.
not like the blasting of a train or something along those lines. It's our common open spaces have to hit a 65 decibel level, and those have been designed on the interior project to meet that requirement.
Nice.
So we should, everybody should be fine and feel protected. It should be very comfortable.
And pardon me, through the chair, and we experience it, the garbage trucks.
Sure.
It's really loud. I would assume it's that sound that you're
We'll have
concerned
garbage
about.
trucks too. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's great. I just, look, when people are upset and they've been up at night,
Yeah.
they don't care about decibel levels.
Yeah.
I've been through it. It's tough when you have neighbors. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you'll have a document that you can show the people and say,
Yeah.
Leave them
you
alone.
signed it ahead of time, this is what you got. We try to be good neighbors, and we don't try,
You are
but,
good neighbors.
if you weren't there on a holiday weekend, if you weren't there on a Labor Day when we delivered 40 cars and so forth, it's the nature of our business, So, the dealers in Serramonte don't have that problem. They've got all retail next to them. And I've been commercial around me and never had a complaint. I'm just concerned about walking into complaints.
Absolutely, which is fair.
So, without, changing my business adversely, so.
Yeah. And Mr. Mueller, I also like, if you don't mind addressing the issue of where are you going to be able to put your cars? We're really concerned about your business as well, right, being affected.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for you right now. I mean, the history is when we went in there, we had about 300 spots from Seton Hospital, which is now the Walgreens. I think it's the Walgreens and the retirement center. And then when that got developed, we had about 250, we moved to the Samtrans site where they're talking about, you know, some other development. But, and then, you know, a few years ago, we got a very short notice from them, and we had to move out, and we found the bowling alley site. So right now I have about 230 cars there, but additionally, we park about 70 employee cars, give or take, on various times on those streets. So we have 200 employees. And, you know, I'm in the camp, I'm not trying to cause problems, but
No.
I think the residents there are going to be parking extra cars on the street. So right now, my technicians and so forth, because we
That's what
open
I'm
so
concerned
early
about,
and they get there so early, we beat the BART people. So we're going to be, you know, so I think I need like,
Let it go.
I need to find like 300 spots, you know, if I'm going to pull the employees on. I emailed Tatum like a week or two ago. I have parking structure plans for the same site.
Oh, okay.
It's like 5 stories. It's actually revised them since then. I'm going for 400 to 500 spots.
Okay.
And it would be on our existing site. And we had Watry do it, and Turner Construction, and it's been quite a, so we haven't been sitting around. You know, so I have a land lease. Our landlords seem to be pretty good. We might be able, but then we got to come, you know, back before you, the staff, and it's got to be economically feasible. So, you know, it's borderline right now. Other than that, I got to be honest. I'm looking at ceremony. I might have to move my sales operation. I'm concerned about. I don't know the timing of this, so it's one of the reasons I'm here, just to pay attention. There is a parking structure that's underutilized that's for a future hotel in Daly City. Maybe we can work out an emergency deal or a short-term deal. The one by the movie theaters.
Oh, yeah,
The top
Jefferson.
3 or 4 floors, I've driven it many times, aren't even being used. But I mean, I've got ideas. You know, I don't want to move. Daly City's been great to us. So we were in the small little store on the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I just glanced. I mean, I think we generated $12 million in sales tax and DMV fees. I mean, it's a, you know, I made a run on this. I mean, someone said, you know, no one even wanted to do retail there. I tried to do retail. I got outbidded by, you know, City Ventures, and you know, I couldn't compete with the housing, but I tried to buy that property.
Oh.
So, you know, I didn't get it. But you know, so it is where it is. That's just the reality and of where we are. So the parking is a concern, and obviously, the way it works, because probably we buy our cars between 6 to 4 months out. So right now I have roughly 600 new cars in the ground. I have used cars, and I have service cars, and I have rental cars. I have 600 new cars in the ground. On the way, I have about another 700 cars, so I have about 1,300. So it's a hard game in our current environment to manage it. You know, if I could, I'd take another 200 right now. I can't park them, so I have to manage that game with Toyota. But I'm at the bare minimum of Toyota right now, and that's where we are. So, you know, so you know, I hope if this goes through that I can at least get some sort of sensible solution for neighbors, and I'm hoping the city's going to be, you know, responsive to ideas of interim parking. And then if, you know, we can get this structure proposed and so forth, you know, the preliminary plans is it connects to our current structure on the ground floor and the fourth floor.
Madam Chairman.
So.
Absolutely. Commissioner?
Yeah.
I fully empathize with Mr. David Muller.
Thank you.
Being a businessman myself. I understand that not too long ago about Exxon and BP Products oil depot and gasoline depot in Martinez. They have been there for so long. And then all of a sudden, whenever there's a catastrophe in that area, the residential area, the people blame, and they said they have to go out of that area. Similarly, just like your case, I'm pretty sure that there'll be some complaint the moment people stays in that place. I know you grandfathered that development in that area. I remember that, and we still appreciate your business. The point I'm saying is that if we can have a disclosure or put this in the CCR, that there should be some sort of like noise. So you have to protect also the interests of Mr. David Miller. This is a two-way win-win situation. Because the moment the houses are built, I'm pretty sure they will go to the council and complain. So many movement there, traffic in the morning. We have to protect also those people who have contributed to the development of the city. And I fully empathize with Mr. Mueller here.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
Me too.
that's the only solution I can say, Mr. Mueller, is put this into the CCR. The moment you sell it to a potential buyer, that this can happen. Then after probably 20 years, you will say, oh, get out there, Mr. Toyota, because you're making a lot of noise in the morning, which is very unfair. Because you're part of the development also of the city. I remember
Yes.
you were still there in the top of the, and we approved it here.
Yeah.
So I really agree with you, 100% with that.
Thank you.
I would like to see this mitigated, and then if Ms. Mothershead or anyone at the staff has any solutions we can do here, because this is like an issue that really needs to be mitigated.
Well, we are going to add a condition of approval that disclosure be provided to each of the townhouse
Besides that,
owners.
though.
It sounds like STC 3-level glass is proposed in the project. We'll add a condition of approval that requires that, at least for units within close proximity to the dealership car wash and any of the loading that happens there.
And then also, what about during the construction area? We don't want the construction of our city ventures to spill over to him as well for any kind of dust. I mean, he's trying to keep his cars clean and sell them, and that was just a thought that I had. I know probably minute compared to the other issues, but it's very important that the construction doesn't impede on our Toyota neighbor.
So the city does, in its standard conditions of approval from the Public Works Department, actually have watering the site to prevent dust, airborne dust.
Go ahead.
And through the chair, I also,
Me
I'm
too.
listening that the employees,
Yes.
I mean, they've got to park.
I mean, there's, I mean, just as a thought, there's, and I don't want to,
No.
put the staff in a bind, but there's, the school across the street has solar panels with gravel underneath that is perfect for parking. I contacted Bernie Vitalis.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know him. I didn't
good.
really get much of a call back. I think he thought I was trying to sell cars there or something. So, I mean, there's little parcels that are underutilized for like employee parking or something that, it'd be, if I could talk, I know Michael, I know Tatum. I mean, I can talk to the staff but I have ideas. I'm not just here to, but I'm pointing out that as the neighbor, I'm probably the biggest impacted. And I think the city's like, it would not be good for the city if we get impacted. So, I think we're kind of partners in economics in a lot of ways,
Yeah, and it's more than economics. We have a really strong relationship with.
Yeah, we have 200
City Attorney.
employees. We're a big supporter of Skyline College.
Yes.
I
You're
have
part
a
of the
ton
community.
of employees from Skyline College. A ton of employees that live in Daly City that have graduated. My 2 sales managers graduated from Jefferson High School. They're great stories. So we have really long-term employees. So we're pretty here. We love Daly City. It's been great to us. So, I can't say I would not want to be on Colma if I had my choice.
We value you in Daly City.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
definitely value, and
So,
this is,
as far as the CCNR disclosure, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what that means.
what other
but
ideas do you have? If you don't, you're already here.
I don't really have an idea on disclosure. I was just laying out the problem. I don't have a solution because that might work. I don't know. I don't even know what it
additional
means
glass
as far
layers,
as I just know there's gonna be, if
Yes.
there's residents, there's gonna be neighbors.
It's guaranteed.
Yes,
It's
guaranteed.
guaranteed.
But I will, through the chair, I agree in that I've been in homes where the airplanes go over and you're inside, you don't hear it, and then you're in the driveway and it's like, you feel like the airplane's right there, right? So the extra glass is gonna be,
Part of it.
I'm not also a lawyer or a
Yeah,
designer,
if
but
you're
I know that does
Feeding a
help.
newborn at 3:30 in the morning and our PA goes off right when you put the child down. I mean,
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
extra glass.
I think, most times it's pretty darn quiet there.
Yeah.
As far as the activity, it's actually a lot more low use than people would probably think. It's a destination site. But, you put it next to housing.
Well,
It is what it is.
the options are limited. Housing, it's, we don't have much space in Daly City to do much.
Yeah.
We appreciate, of course, City of Tioga to start at the top of the hill and big and everything. So the options, I think, the compromise is definitely the noise that go down to a restaurant right by off Tafaran, and you're in the restaurant and they have that, you don't hear the planes.
No.
So if it's that level of, they want, and we did the whole project in the Daly City homes, had to be refitted all along the, so that, to me, is gonna be great. The other thing is, we are gonna deal with people who don't like businesses near them, period.
Then they
Whether-
won't buy.
Whether they hear or whether they don't hear. So
Yeah.
this is part of human nature, and we'll just roll with it. That's
And
best I can say.
and through the chair, I was going to say was, these are great people to work with.
Yeah.
And now that you've presented your concerns, and especially, so important, your staff, parking.
Yes, parking.
And all that, I'm sure, and I don't want to assume, right? But I'm sure now that this has been, discussed, that with Tatum, with Michael, with the staff, that they should be able to sit, I don't want to compromise you here, but you guys can discuss this, correct? And options and such?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you've worked with them before, so,
have.
yeah,
So-
in the past.
Yes.
So that, we want to make sure that,
The other thing is, I forgot, is our lights are on. They didn't used to be on all night. They are now. They
Yeah.
probably have been for 2 years due to problems. And it's a really good deterrent. So, I don't know but if I turn them off, I have problems.
no, we don't want you to turn the lights off. And Ms. Hauser, if you don't mind, come up for a minute to ask you the question about, do realize that his lights need to be on? How will that impede also for the residents? Is there a
Sure.
way to, I don't know how we're going to do this. Now, here we go. We're going to be like,
Again, there are options of different window coverings that we're working with staff on. They have to be approved by staff. And so, again, we just want to make sure that we're a respectful neighbor. We understand that you were there first, and we're designing around understanding that this is a business that's going to stay there. So we shouldn't have a problem with that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the back of our building is 50 feet high roughly or something. And so it's the lights shouldn't be a problem compared to the noise. I wouldn't think. I'm just pointing it out that they're on.
Could we just say, to facilitate this, it's an ongoing situation with your homeowners association and the city and Toyota. When there's a problem, you get together and you talk about it. So could we put that in your covenant, that before you jump, everybody talks, come to planning, Toyota comes, if there's a problem. Cooperation, okay? So can we do that?
Yeah, we don't want anybody complaining about him
No,
that
I
for
mean-
some reason.
And through the chair, the second thing is, as we know, people buy and then they sell, and so that, I don't know how that works with.
The
but
CC&Rs,
there
no.
should be, that should all be disclosed, even if you resell and resell and resell, so that he's covered. It's
The disclosure on this will be thorough.
thorough, yeah,
Completely
It
thorough.
will run with the home and not with the homeowner.
very good, that's,
It will be
Okay,
very
The other thing,
specific.
there's one other thing that happens,
Sure.
because I've been through this neighbor thing, is we'll get blamed for a lot of things that aren't us. Some bar person's gonna put their car and leave it all night because they took it to SFO, okay? They parked it there, and then their car's gonna get bumped, and they're gonna have a car alarm, and it's gonna go off, and it's not gonna stop. And for whatever reason, because I had that happen they think it's the car dealership. And we had to look up the license, but it's not even our car. So, things happen. I'm just saying, can be difficult when you go from commercial to residential.
yeah.
Well, it's going to go.
So.
I don't want to be, it's just that I hear it all, and I just think in communities, whether it's commercial and residential, you meet together, since you have a homeowners association, and talk it out. And the city planners, because I made a mess. But anyway, we have code enforcement. We've done it with other car dealers down by Cow Palace. They said yes, and then there was noise and that. But if we're working communicate. Don't,
Yeah, well, that's what the disclosures, the
Yeah.
purpose of that is. It's a huge form of communication, basically.
yeah.
Well, another thing, I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank the commission and the staff. I mean, you've given me a fair amount of time here tonight. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here, and then this is not ending either, because I'm sure that Ms. Hauser seems to be very open to continue the conversation and mitigating. And I know this is an open development, but there's not any noise abatement areas or anything to help him?
You can come back to the council, you know, you
Yeah, but I
got,
don't mind
There's the
that.
disclosure and the glass on the
I think
windows, essentially.
that's fantastic.
So I'll follow up with the staff, Tatum and Michael.
Will you do that? And if
Yeah.
you're not satisfied, please make sure that we're open, come back, and we'll make sure that whatever issue, and I don't want you to have to think that we don't hear you, because, you know, you are our community, you know, and then she's coming to our community as well. We're someone that, when we welcome people, they become a part of the community. They're not just here to make the money and leave and all that, you know, so you know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I said, I mean, we're not here in a way to have housing. I mean, we'd love it to be a bigger car dealership, but it appears it's gonna be housing. So we're not here to stop. We just
No.
wanna be able to be on good terms as neighbors.
Yeah, and I know staff here always appreciates the Toyota.
Madam
and
Chairman,
Try to work, sure.
you know, I live in Daly City, and our house is direct pathways of the plane. And the house is built based on noise abatement program. Oh, that's why every time I can even see the plane.
Oh, my gosh.
It does pass and it will boom after part.
Oh, my goodness.
But it's nice. So to me, it can be done by the
Okay.
city ventures that with noise abatement, especially with that area. Besides, Your Honor, Madam Chairman, this area is supposedly a commercial, but it went down to the medium housing commercial. That's why that was my supposed to be. I don't want to open the can, but you know, this place is supposed to be under the general plan, the Sullivan Corridor Plan. This is supposed to be a top dollar place, which is supposed to be a commercial, not for residential. But they made it that way because it's been there for so long, been vacant for so many years. It needs to be really to develop. That is why I don't want to make an issue about this. So that's why I empathize with you, because this is supposed to be a commercial place, not a residential place, under the general plan of the Sullivan Corridor Plan. But anyway, let it be done. Let it develop it, because this has been idle for so long. It's becoming blighted, and it's passing through the main road of 280. So to me, it's just a matter of trying to find ways and means how to mitigate the noise as far as your neighbors, incoming neighbors coming in. Because I'm pretty sure the moment they live there for a year or so, they'll be complaining to you,
Right.
to the council especially. And these are sometimes noisy people, I hate to say it. So that's my concern, Your Honor.
Thank you, Commissioner. And if you're satisfied with everything tonight, and then continue the conversation with the staff, and then I'm sure Ms. Hauser, you guys will exchange information. And then, but always know that we're always here for you, we value you, and appreciate everything that you do in our community, and we're here.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
man. Appreciate it.
Always,
Thank you.
always
Thank you for
welcome.
coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our best to Eleanor as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
No, thank you. We'll make sure that also your employees are taken, they need places to park. They shouldn't have to
Thank you.
park in another city and have to commute over here to work. So we can work something out in that owner. Okay, now, our favorite question is traffic.
Yeah.
Mr. Hexagon, would you mind coming up to, please? Our favorite subject is of traffic. Thank you for your patience, everyone, tonight. We just want to make sure that this is a project that the commissioners here try to do their due diligence, and I really appreciate that they ask these questions, and I'm sure that you and the audience appreciate it as well. So welcome, and thank you for us, and we're going to open it up. And Commissioner, I guess we'll start with Commissioner Pirano.
Thank you. And since you already heard my question, I didn't know if maybe you wanted to start your comments.
Which one would you like me to start with the egress?
Well, yeah. So basically,
can you pull it up?
So basically, my concern is that instead of working around what we already have in that space, that road or that street, that maybe we revisit the entire space so that it works more conducively for the residents and for the, for the new residents and for us who have to go or do go through that area.
Yeah, well, I don't want to refer this question directly to the developer, but I think that from architectural point of view, that was not feasible, right? Because that would require moving the driveway to provide access to the site in a different place, and I don't think that was feasible from an architectural point of view. So, because we understand that it's a challenging site for traffic and circulation, having that access point and egress point so close to Unibrasera. So we understand that, but that was a constraint, I think, that was basically dictated by the architectural design of the site.
Okay, and so what I'm hearing is that, and through the chair, is that you're saying is due to the design, that we're unable to make it safer, make it easier for people to use, and also, if it's not convenient, and if it's difficult to get in and out, the stores are going to have less customers. Eventually, you're just not going to go. And so you'd hate to do that. I mean, I know you build and then you go, but it's your reputation as well, right? So we wouldn't want that. So if there was a way to flip things or adjust it, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying is that if there was a way, do you feel that it would be more conducive, for the vehicles going and coming?
Yeah, probably. But I have to emphasize too is that this is a fairly low traffic generating site plan and proposal development, because to put it into context, when you look at the number of cars that are exiting the site in the afternoon, there's like 38 cars making that movement. 10 of them would like to go south onto Unibrasera, 10 of them would like to go straight onto the freeway, and 18 would turn right. If you put it into context, 10 cars in an hour, that's one every 6 minutes. It's not like a very high generating type of development where you have a Target or a Starbucks where traffic is coming and going continuously. So it's really not happening that often.
I'm sorry, pardon me, sir, to interrupt you. You're saying currently, or if, for instance, there is a Starbucks there, and there's a Pete's, and there's a Burger King, I'm just making up businesses, but it's enticing, and businesses would want people to come in, not just the residents, but people, and not just the people that are walking by, but they would want me to drive there and go. And I will tell you that, and we had this discussion about another development the other day. You remember this, Charlie? Where we said it's such a pain that eventually you don't want to go there. And so that's a loss of income for businesses. And so that's our concern. We're not trying to put spokes in your, issues on your plans. Right. But in the future, let's say there's residents, there's more traffic going and coming, and all of a sudden you have cars trying to do U-turns to get into a building. You got cars going and coming. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, but that too, there's for that U-turn that we were talking about, there's about 13 cars that are trying to do that in the afternoon. 13 cars. It's one every 4 minutes. It's not like
that's currently now. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt either.
But
that's okay.
You say afternoon.
Yeah.
I drive there, okay. 7:30 in the morning. to 10, there is traffic coming either way all over. At 2:30 to 3, schools get out, coming down Juniper Serra, going over to San Pedro.
Yes.
4, I get off Juniper Serra anytime after 3, I don't drive it. Because you got all the kids and all the things. So you're saying afternoon, what time? Give me a
Okay,
time.
what we typically analyze and what the city requires us to look is it's at the morning peak hour,
Yeah.
which is between 7 and 9 roughly, 7:30, 8:30, and in the afternoon from 5 to 6. Those are typically the
Well,
busiest times
Okay,
of
that's
the day.
that's typically from whatever city in Omaha. But I'm telling you, as a president from 1984, Juniper Serra, after 2 o'clock and the schools start to empty out and the traffic is going north on Juniper Serra and getting off to 280, it is loaded.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not saying, you're using a statistic that says this. Well, I would like to say, okay, camp out at 2 to 4 and 4 to 6, because this is when we have, it's not
And
peak.
weekends.
Well, we don't want to talk about weekends. Just because like I say, I travel that route every day. And I know that once I come on from Hickey on Juniper Serra at 2:33, the traffic starts backing up.
School.
So I'm just.
We're talking about D Street specifically, though.
Yeah, but D Street, but getting from D Street onto Juniper Serra is jammed. It stops at Washington, the traffic stops and it backs up D Street, you ain't gonna come out. When it backs up from Washington, where are you gonna go from D Street?
And through the chair as well as,
I drive that every day.
and Dave can tell you, San Pedro Road is horrible, especially when they're getting in and out.
You got 2 schools, you got,
Yeah,
And Sunday's church?
oh,
well,
yeah.
no, I'm
So
not.
in terms of land uses, this is actually not particularly most intensive land use we can have here.
No, I
This is
understand.
75.
Yeah.
We understand that, but
Only
there's
79
gonna be,
units.
there's gonna be businesses there, there's gonna be people coming in and out, there's gonna be residents. We hope they walk a lot. I hope that these businesses are something you just run downstairs and buy something, run back up,
And
have a
friendly.
barbecue.
Because you're
But-
doing the study now, and it, excuse me though, but I think that what you're saying, Commissioner, is that, that this is the current study now, which is great, but we hope that there will be more because of the retail and the commercial space, and the residents are gonna be there, so there's gonna be more cars, and then that's not gonna be so friendly, and then after a while, you go like, oh, well, forget it, I'm gonna drive straight to somewhere else and eat, and we don't want that.
Well, let me go through, I'm sorry. I understand, without the project today, presently, at 7:30 to 9:30 to 10, Juniper Serra North and South, they're either going to go to 280, or they're going to go to 280 South and North, or just go, okay. And D Street becomes a flow as people going in and going to BART or parking. So, I'm saying that your time limit is to say, like, we're going to have 79 homes with so many people. But the traffic presently on Juniper Serra, and I know you travel, Michael, and I do too, there's a lot of traffic. And I'm not saying D Street's gonna have the traffic. It's getting out of D Street if you're not gonna have a signal. There's a signal that goes to 280, and they're gonna be right-hand turn signal, right?
The existing traffic signal is staying. It handles all
Yeah,
4
okay, now,
travel directions.
then maybe I could ask this question, I'm sorry. Can engineering, our department or yours, sequence so that Washington is green, that is green, and not Washington, we don't have good sequencing.
So one of the issues that we have on Juniper Serra is that this intersection is actually an off-ramp, so Caltrans controls the timing at D and
As
Juniper
our-
Serra.
Caltrans.
Thank you,
Right.
I'm
That was
sorry.
the answer.
That's.
I share your concern, I know, it is a busy road, it is a busy intersection, but the way that it's measured in terms of level of service, which ties a letter grade to the level of congestion. And the level of congestion that typically, what now occurs today, and also with the project at that intersection, will be level of service D, which
Right.
is an acceptable level of service standard. for
Well, I
the
think
city.
she
So
solved the
it's-
problem, because we've had problems with Caltrans, and that's the issue of those lights. And if we can sequence below and sequence at Washington, but if they don't sequence on that, the Caltrans, there's where we get it off.
They're facilitating traffic getting off the freeway. Is that the?
Yeah.
Right, so Caltrans's priority is to not have traffic back up on the ramps. And so
So, as they say,
that's,
thank you.
But on the other hand, again, with regards, so what I'm hearing on this, Samantha, right? Yeah, is that where you're gonna come out of the project, okay, so, you're either coming out because you live there, or thank you, or you're visiting a store. Currently, where on the map is the road coming out, and where are you how far away is it? Like 2-car lengths, or is there, what's the difference from where it is and where it's gonna be?
So I believe it's around 20 feet from where it is to where it's going to be.
Yeah,
Is
something,
that correct, Daly?
you could probably, one car,
One car.
So only one car?
it's tight.
Yeah, it's
And-
one.
Yeah.
tight.
And
Yeah.
one of the constraints, because what we are looking at is how can we really have this very cool focal point of the standalone commercial building from the intersection of JS and D Street. Like that's what we want. We want people coming off the freeway, we want people on JS to really see this building. And so it's in our interest to get that as close to JS as possible. The challenge that we have on kind of a geometrically difficult site is that we have 2 triangles, but we also have a Cal Water easement that runs underneath where we have the parking and where the drive entrance
Okay.
is.
Oh,
So
yes.
I would love to be able to pick up the building and move it over, and that's what we originally were looking at, but it's just not something that we're able to relocate, and so that's kind of the crux of what you're talking about. But that being said, I want to make sure everybody understands the 4 buildings labeled A, B, C, and D are exiting off of a driveway. Michael, can you highlight that? They're exiting off of a driveway that's further back, so they will not have the issue that we're talking about. There's an exit at the very top onto B Street that's closer for the top half of the homes. And yeah, that one there for the smaller triangle, but then also buildings J, I, G, and H. Their closest entry and exit is actually onto B Street. So we're really talking about buildings E and F, and again, they're also really close to B Street. So it's not like all of this townhomes on this portion of the project are going to be trying to get off of that portion. And I believe Ott's study has a disbursement of who will go where, and I think you cover that, but I would defer to you because I'm not an engineer.
It's like,
And so besides the residents, and then on another level,
Sure.
people visiting the stores, destination, it's a great store and they want to get in there.
Yeah.
Are we going to have issues?
So we have a lot of projects, especially in existing urban info sites where, I'm building this project in San Jose right now where the VTA runs all along and it's right in, right out only. And so we're already talking to retailers. We understand, who will be able to do this. It's not a problem for the retailers that we're looking for. But what would be optimal is to allow the left-hand turn lane to get the U-turn, just to make it a little bit easier. Once you can get somebody into a retail site, that's fine. If the difficulty is in getting out, which is I think what you're concerned about, that is not a barrier to tenancy. So if we can make the left hand onto D Street work, I think that will definitely be helpful to retailers. We are amenable to either option at the city's discretion.
Okay, and I also, not to throw a wrench in it, but if Mr. Muller's down there, how does that does that in any way affect you when your customers come in and out?
You mean
So what-
traffic there?
Yeah,
It's too early to tell.
okay.
Well,
Because that's
it's
very important that he
really-
has his customers be able to come in and out.
We're talking more of San Pedro Road, right?
Yeah, but still, no, but he also takes over with the parking. See?
I think for us, it's more of the parking versus the traffic.
if I may answer, we looked at that intersection that's close to the Toyota, and there's very little project traffic that is using it, and that intersection is very lightly traveled. It's operated level service A and B. It's very lightly traveled, so there's no issue from a traffic point of view at all for that location.
I mean, I do think they're not going to be able to get out on D Street. So I think
See.
during the busy times. So I think they're going to have to go to B. and then there will be.
Would you mind coming up so that they can hear that on the, for the
I'm
people at
sorry.
home? I know people
I
at
just think-
home
I
are
think-
watching.
I go out there every evening. I go out, I come downhill and I turn right on D. But when people are leaving BART, you're not gonna be able to pull, you're not gonna be able to pull out on D. So,
That's an issue.
you're just not going to be able to. So you're gonna have to go out and go to B. So as far as impacting us, there'll be more.
We need to think about the BART passengers, too.
I saw a smile.
I mean, believe me, we understand this is a challenging,
Sure.
and I totally share your concerns, but the way I think we think this will operate is that, can I just walk over here?
Yeah.
But then
Yeah, you
people
can
at
use
home
this
can't
if
hear.
you like.
Yeah. Yeah, try to stay over here if you don't mind because of the people at home.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. No, don't worry. Thank
There
you.
go.
Thank you very
So,
much.
The way, and don't want to get too technical.
No.
The traffic signal is right here. This is for Nipper and D Street. The way this traffic signal operates, when this gets green, all the traffic, all the three movements go at the same time. So sometimes the left turns go first and then the right turns, etc. This one, basically, it clears the entire stretch of D Street with one shot. In addition, there's another intersection that's right here, D and Hill, that's also operated by a traffic signal. So when this traffic signal becomes green and D Street clears out, there will be a time period, it depends, on traffic conditions, etc., that there's no traffic at all on this section for maybe 20 or 30 seconds. So there are two benefits from it. One benefit is that this U-turn can be easily made because there's basically a gap in the traffic stream because the cars cannot enter D Street here because it's red, so they have to wait. So there's a gap, so people can make a left turn or U-turn. And again, we're not talking about hundreds of cars. It's very few cars. So for that reason, we don't foresee any problem for people making that U-turn. Secondly, once the last car clears on D Street, like I mentioned, because everything goes at the same time, there are a few cars, probably maybe 2 or 3 at the most, given that there's not a lot of traffic going there for each cycle, those cars can then basically enter the intersection at when it's still green on that direction, because they're right there. So they basically go at the back end of the traffic stream that's already clearing D Street when the traffic signal is green.
Through the chair,
No problem.
They do this.
right there, I know that road right now.
Yeah,
So if someone's coming out of there
out of here, yes.
and they want to catch the freeway heading south,
The freeway, yeah.
and if they hit the first street is a right turn only.
The first lane, you mean?
The first lane.
Yeah, yes.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
the first
sorry,
lane is
yeah,
right
yeah,
turn early.
yeah.
And they want to hit the freeway, that's just 2 lanes over, right?
It's one lane, well, it's one
One.
lane.
Or
Different,
one.
yeah. But there's
Right turn, one.
There's no traffic because
You're not
traffic is clear.
anticipating.
Because
any.
it all clears at the
It'll
same
clear.
time.
Okay.
So there is, what I'm saying, there are gaps in the traffic stream that allows the traffic that wants to come out of this driveway to enter the intersection.
Okay,
So it's
Okay.
not like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
blocked.
So that
There are
one, they'll be able to
opportunities,
get-
and
yeah.
again, there's not a lot of cars who do that. So it's
Okay.
not like there's 5, 6, 7 cars
Sure.
waiting to make it. So
Okay.
it's fairly low traffic generating.
okay. Yeah. I'd hate to see, I'd just hate to see in 5 years or whatever, people coming and complaining about this one situation. So I think we've asked all our questions.
Okay, Commissioner Rod? Commissioner
comment.
Satori?
No, I'm okay.
You're okay?
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
It
Thank you.
cleared it up.
Any other questions, Mr. Mueller?
No, let me just.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner.
Just briefly.
Sure.
In every development that we do, there's the so-called adjustment period. People will always, at first, they will complain, but as the sun or as the dust will settle down, it will just be automatically for the people really to adjust. It is just a matter of 1 day, 2 days. But I don't see any problem here as far as ingress or egress is concerned, because this is just a low-density area. So I don't see any problem here. It is a matter of probably going to, somebody said going to Target or going to Best Buy. But actually, if you're staying in that area, you will have to really to know where you're going really. Just take the Hill Street or the side street there. But insisting coming from this area, going to the left, you're courting trouble there. So if you have a business, if you are a visitor there, or even a tenant there, at least you should know where to really to where to go or where to pass. So I don't see any problem here because traffic here is not that heavy, except of course there's a time, like 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning, and then 1 o'clock because I pass by there every day. I live in Serramonte, that's why. And also about 6 o'clock after 8 o'clock. So it is not really that a problem as far as traffic is concerned. It's a matter of adjustment, and people use their common sense. That's the best way to do it. Thank you very much.
Through the chair, just, we do have, like you say, the condition of approval where there's money going to be put aside for like the stanchions and things like that. So the amount of money could, as things develop in 6 months or a year, is flexible because the money will be there. So I think that's, it alleviates my concern, because I don't want the city on the hook. Not that the developer would do that, but I mean, so thank you for that. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. You okay?
And just thank you for answering our questions, because that's our job. It's my understanding is we're here for the public, for, the citizens in Daly City. And so thank you, and thanks for coming. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners, staff, or to the staff? So at this time, I'd like to thank everyone for coming, the traffic engineers, to Mr. Mueller from the City of Toyota, Ms. Hauser, City Ventures, and anyone in the audience. And again, we're open to, this is what we're here for, and also our traffic engineers, attorney. And so thank you very much. So with that, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second?
Thank you. And may I have a, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we want to recommend that the Planning Commission move forward to the City Council the following recommendations. We want to have a motion to adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
May I have a voice vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and recommend that the City Council adopt the mitigated negative declaration, CEQA-4-17-12725, and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program prepared for the project. May I have a motion?
Like to make a motion?
Second.
Accept.
And all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to have a motion and recommend that the City Council approve the general plan amendment, GPA-4-17-12720, plan development, PD-4-17-12721, major subdivision, sub-4-17-12723, which is a use permit, which is a UPB, -4-17-12722, design review, DR-4-17-1272, subject to the conditions of approval identified herein. And with that, I'd like to, we would like to add, I would believe, the following to that is at this time. Would that be correct?
That would be cool.
And could you please let us know the following that we would like to add to the conditions?
With the windows.
Okay.
What I heard were conditions related to a
Sound.
property disclosure and
The CCI.
acoustical study for windows in the residential portion.
And with the propane grills and the turf being non-rubberized at the bottom for it to be, for the toxicity. And if they could use native plants, that would be great. And is there anything else?
The noise abatement.
Yeah, any type of noise abatement that can satisfy also the conditions of for our city Toyota.
And I'd also like to add that if there's anything, just to throw it out there, if there's anything that would affect how he runs his business,
Yeah,
that it be addressed, or
Yes.
that at least he be in some sort of a meeting to make sure that everything's running smoothly.
Yeah, that's on the
Yeah.
amendment as well. Yeah, so we want to make sure that our City Toyota and City Ventures is running smoothly, and that they both stay in our city and be our community partners, and that everyone will thrive, and that the employees of City Toyota and the residents in the city and thrive here well. So upon those conditions, may I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second?
May I have a roll call?
Pro Año,
Yes.
Talarico,
Yes.
Das Magwal,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Di Giovanni.
Yes. And with that, I would like to ask if there's any other staff communications or public appearances? If none, any acquisitions or vacations?
None.
None? So just in adjournment, I would like to close an adjournment because I know the people of Bay Shore are watching, of Johnny Wu, and also with our Eleanor, who was our longtime Charleston, it was 101 years old, that passed away, and Bunny Gillespie. Those are the people asked to even the Planning Commission to close in their memory. So can we have 1 minute of silence, please, before we adjourn? And with that, adjourn the meeting tonight, and thank you very much for everyone.